This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Alright, and welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. And as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. Jumped the gun there a little bit, was going to talk about this show, but nonetheless, obviously, if you were paying attention to yesterday, there was no show uploaded. We had a few technical difficulties, so weren't able to record, but nonetheless, here we are. And we still got stuff to talk about. We got game one going on tonight between the Cleveland Cavaliers and Golden State Warriors. We touched on it on Tuesday. All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about it today, give my thoughts on just game one by itself, and I guess give a little overview on the series a tiny bit. We're going to go game by game with this whole thing, too, so we'll be talking about that. You saw the title, Bryan Colangelo. All right, Sixers GM in a bit of in some hot water here with 5 burner Twitter accounts. I mean, this is one of the odder stories in the league right now, probably all season long. All right, I mean, when the Ringer reported this story out, I basically was like, wait, what's going on? And then you're just basically refreshing, and there's new stuff coming out, and now it's looking like it might be his wife who was running those accounts. So I'm just gonna give my thoughts on all that in the second segment. The third segment, we had Zinedine Zidane resigning as the Real Madrid manager. A bit of a shock move, isn't it? I mean, you won 3 Champions Leagues, La Liga title, a bunch of other trophies, and now you're just leaving. I'm going to give my thoughts on that. I don't think the move is as crazy as it seemed, just given that there are some things that you could think about when it comes to him resigning. All right, so we'll be talking about that. And then for the fourth segment, as we always do, we will be talking about anything else going on in the world of sports. All right, so let's get into it. Like I said, we got game one going on tonight. And, I mean, I think this is first time ever right here. We have the Warriors who are favored by 13 in this game. Okay, I don't think there's ever been a team favored by that much in game one of an NBA Finals, in any game of an NBA Finals. I mean, going into this series, okay, this is the 4th straight year we've had it. I was thinking maybe, is this bad for basketball? Is it good? I'd assume it's good. I'm sure the ratings are going to be up pretty high. I'm not sure if they'll be higher than any of the past 3, just given that, I mean, this is the 4th time. And, I mean, we saw these teams last year in the finals, and, I mean, it wasn't even really much of a series, okay? Cleveland stole the game. Other than that, though, Golden State dominated, okay? And then now here we are. I mean, what are we expecting for this series, okay? I've been seeing a lot of discussions as far as what's more likely, a sweep or a 6-game series, okay? And I think in order for this series to go 6 games, Cleveland would have to take one at least in Oakland, either game 1 or game 2. Okay, in order for this game to go, or this series to go 6, because you do that, you're 1-1 going back to Cleveland, and I do think that Cleveland could take a game in Cleveland also. Okay, as crazy as I'm making it sound. So I think best case scenario for the Cavs would be them after 4 games being tied 2-2 with the Warriors. I don't see a scenario where they're up 3-1. Okay, I just don't see that happening whatsoever. And it's just a point here where on Tuesday we talked about the teams compared to 2014 to 2015, or 2014-2015 team to this team. And I did that because back in that first series that they met, the Cavs were without Kyrie Irving, they were without Kevin Love. All right, and they ended up stealing 2 games in that series against Clay, Curry, and Draymond. All right. And that Warriors team was pretty good. Obviously, you got KD added to this team now, but the point I was trying to make is that, I mean, if LeBron could take 2 games against the Warriors with that team, could he take 2 games with this team? Okay. And I think that LeBron that year compared to LeBron this year, I would say has played better. I think that this year 15 season for LeBron is one of the best he's ever had. All right. And it's just a point where, I mean, they are going to be, well, Kevin Love is going to be available to play tonight. And if I'm Tyronn Lue, I'm thinking about the possibility of maybe having Love come off the bench, maybe. All right, because Kevin Love with this Cavs team hasn't really been great. All right. And again, I'm sure Kevin Love is going to be in the starting 5 tonight, and I have no problem with that whatsoever. But I think this team plays well with Jeff Green in the starting 5 when you're running Hill, Smith, Braun, Hill, or Green, and then Tristan Thompson. I think that team looks good when they're out there together. And I think that, like I said, I think they get a little bit worse with Kevin Love out there. So I'd say maybe see what he could do with the second unit. I mean, obviously you're going to have LeBron playing the majority of the game, so you probably second unit would consist of LeBron, Korver. Who else would be coming off? I guess Clarkson, Love, and then that's tough actually to run Love with the second unit because usually you have Jeff Green out there. But nonetheless, I mean, I'm just saying explore that little idea. All right. But nonetheless, like I said, I mean, getting back to the whole what's more likely to happen, a sweep or a 6-game series, I'd say, logically thinking, it'd be a sweep. Okay? This Cavs team is probably the worst that LeBron has ever played with, I should say. Okay? And, I mean, why would we think that they could take a game from the Warriors? Okay? Honestly. This Warriors team, and I mean, it's a possibility, but we have seen so far this postseason too, this Warriors team doesn't look as dominant as they have in postseasons before. Okay, and that might just have to do, because I mean, they did win in 5 against the Spurs. They did win in 5 against the Pelicans. All right, and they did play a really good Rockets team that took them to 7. And, I mean, looking at it, who would you say is better, the Pelicans or the Cavs? Okay. I think I'd go with the Cavs, but I'm not going to say they're much better. Okay, and then comparing them to the Rockets, I would say the Rockets were better. So the Cavs kind of fall in between there. So I guess, yeah, it is a possibility that they take one game. But it's just a point where, I mean, also, does this hurt LeBron's legacy if they lose? Okay, because that's one thing we're going to need to talk about. Right now, he's currently 3-5 in finals appearances. Okay, and one thing I don't think we talk about enough is the fact that this is his 9th finals, and this is going to be the 7th time his team has been an underdog in the finals. Okay, and that's a bit ridiculous. And LeBron honestly has never, besides the Miami Heat teams, they've never been like far and above the best team in the league, I don't think. Okay. When you look at the Kyrie and Love's teams, it was Kyrie, Love, then after that, what did you have? Okay. And I'm not trying to make excuses for LeBron or whatever for the Cavs, but nonetheless, I mean, it's a point we got to look at, I think. All right. And like I said, I mean, if the Cavs were to lose this series, I don't think that really does hurt LeBron's legacy. I mean, we don't really look at finals records with anyone else the way we do with LeBron. Okay. Like, I couldn't tell you Magic's finals record. I could only tell you the amount of championships he has. Obviously, we know Jordan was 6-0 because he never lost. Kobe, off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to tell you his finals record. All right. I couldn't tell you Bird's finals record. I couldn't tell you Kareem's finals record. Okay. We don't, with those other players, we just talk about how many championships they won. LeBron is honestly the only player that we talk about how many times he's lost in the finals, which is, I think, a bit ridiculous. Okay? Honestly. And, I mean, I guess that's the price that comes with being the best, one of the most polarizing players in the history of the NBA. I mean, Jordan is regarded as the best ever by some. Okay? And I wasn't around for that time, so I couldn't tell you directly. But, I mean, just talking to people who were around, I mean, it doesn't seem like Jordan had as much of a spotlight, meaning just pretty much just as scrutinized as LeBron was. I feel like Jordan more so was rather just loved and everyone enjoyed watching him play rather than LeBron. I mean, people just dislike LeBron just to dislike him if you go and pay attention. All right. So I don't think this series, like whether or not he loses or whatever, should hurt his legacy. All right. Like I said, with all these other players, we don't bring up finals records. We talk about how many championships they've won. And I think that is the way it should be. I mean, given that it isn't extremely difficult to go out and win an NBA title. I mean, it's difficult to go out and win any professional sports title. Okay, because you are going up against the best of the best. So no, I don't think this affects his legacy. And as far as tonight goes, I mean, I want to go out on a limb and I want to pick Cleveland, just given that maybe it's just a hope in me, just hoping that we have a decent series here. But I mean, I just don't see it happening. Okay. And as far as my prediction for these series, my head says Warriors in 5. My heart says Warriors in 6. All right. And I think that I think I got to go Warriors in 5 in this one. Okay. I think I have to. And I feel like I'm really going against my true thought, which is Warriors in 6. I do I don't know if I'm just talking myself into it, but I do think that this could be a decent series. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to go Warriors in 5 here. And I guess I got to go Warriors winning tonight. Okay. Yeah, I think so. I'm going to be pulling for Cleveland tonight just because I'd like to see it be a better series. But nonetheless, I mean, yeah, I do got to go with the Warriors tonight. So we'll see what ends up happening. Like I said, I mean, the Warriors are 13-point favorites, which is just ridiculous. But nonetheless, I mean, they should be. This Cleveland team isn't that great. It's pretty much just been LeBron willing them all the way to the finals. Okay, you have had some guys who have stepped up in different points of game, like in different games and all that, but there's been no real consistency with the other guys on this team. All right, so we'll see what ends up going on. No Iguodala tonight. Maybe that makes a difference. I'm not sure. Okay, because he usually does do well in guarding LeBron. All right, so maybe we'll see Draymond on LeBron or even possibly KD. All right, I'm not sure. But nonetheless, I do got the Warriors winning tonight, and I do have them winning in 5. All right, so that's all I got to say about the game tonight. A little overview of the series. I mean, the key for Cleveland to win tonight, I guess, would be, I don't know. Is there a possibility of them winning tonight? It's just LeBron's going to have to go off for a triple-double, probably at least 40. All right, you're going to need Kevin Love. You're going to need the whole team to play well. That's it. The key for the Cavs winning is just the whole team to play well and play well on defense. All right, it's not that difficult. We just haven't seen that this season or this postseason so far. So we're going to wrap it up here. Next up, I got some thoughts on the whole Bryan Colangelo thing, so stay tuned for that, and we will be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. So far, we've only just talked about Warriors, Cavs, Game 1. Gave some thoughts on LeBron's legacy if he loses it and all that. Nonetheless, you could hear all that in the first segment if you want to listen to it over again. This segment, we're going to get a bit weird here. Okay? Weird meaning, Twitter accounts, NBA GMs. It's a bit ridiculous that social media has taken over the league this much, but nonetheless it has. We are in the social media age of sports, and as a fan, it is as a fan and as a guy who does a podcast, I mean, it is one of the more entertaining things ever. I mean, just following it, paying attention to what people are saying is by far the funnest thing to do. Okay? And obviously what I'm referring to is the Bryan Colangelo burner Twitter accounts, allegedly, I guess. All right. So I guess let's give a little overview of it all. All right. So I believe it was on Monday. Actually, it was actually Tuesday night. Okay, Tuesday night. The Ringer, I believe it was the Bill Simmons' own media outlet, puts out a report. Specifically, Ben Detrick. All right. Article is titled, "The Curious Case of Bryan Colangelo and the Secret Twitter Account." That already sounds interesting, okay? And this might be one of the Ringer's most clicked on stories ever, so I mean, this Dietrich's guy is going to get a lot of page views there. But nonetheless, the basis of the article is basically talking about Bryan Colangelo, 5 Twitter accounts, and how similar they all are, okay? So we basically got Dietrich, who's working on the story, and he gets tipped off by someone, okay, telling him that they work in artificial intelligence and all that, and that there's striking similarities between the accounts as far as the language, the likes, who they're following, who they interact with, and pretty much, like I said, just how they talk and all that. All right? And the accounts basically, well, actually, let me get into the story some more. So, Dietrich emails the 76ers, okay, asks them about the 5 Twitter accounts, if they know if anyone is the owner of them or whatever. Turns out Bryan Colangelo is the owner of one, but I think that one that he admitted to owning does not tweet. Okay, like there's no tweets, it's just basically for following up on stuff, keeping up with news and all that. All right, but yeah, no tweets from that one. Okay. And after he's notified that Colangelo is the one who owns that one Twitter account, a few of them go into, I think it's protected mode or whatever it's called on Twitter, where, I mean, if you don't follow it, you don't get to see what they tweet and all that, okay? And that happened like a few hours, I believe it was, after they had the interaction, okay? And Dietrich asked the 76ers, he emails them back, if they talk to anyone else about it, they say just Bryan Colangelo, okay? So that is a bit fishy that the day they do email the 76ers about the accounts and find out that Bryan Colangelo owns one of them, the 3 others go into protected mode. Okay? And basically the basis of these Twitter accounts, you see tweets of them criticizing guys like Joel Embiid, Jahlil Okafor, Nerlens Noel, okay? Questioning coaching staff decisions. Also, there's a couple of tweets going at Sam Hinkie, also Masai Ujiri, Toronto Raptors president. And then there's talks, like there's tweets about pretty much just team news and all that really no one else really knows about. There's a tweet about Jahlil Okafor in a failed physical that messed up a trade deal that wasn't really reported to the public. So, I mean, there is team-sensitive information in these tweets. Okay, I saw, like, the Jahlil Okafor one. The tweet, it comes from an account, Eric Jr. The @ name is ALVIC4040117560. All right, the tweet is to Keith Pompey. All right, and the tweet from the Eric Jr. account says, "Ask Ja if he passed other team physical. He will not say not to lose other chance, but I bet the farm it's what happened." Okay. And obviously the English on this tweet isn't very great, but nonetheless, it talks about a failed physical that no one knew about. Okay. And you got tweets about, remember when Joel Embiid was hurt and he was seen at concerts and all that? Not going crazy or anything like that, but dancing and stuff like that. There's tweets going at him about it. Okay. And there's a weird one too where they talk about Bryan Colangelo's collar, and one of the other Twitter accounts says that is a normal collar. Move on, find a new stat. So this Twitter account, basically the basis of it is to go at players, okay, go at coaches, go at people who like Sam Hinkie and the Raptors team president, and it defends Colangelo a lot. Okay, and I saw too that these Twitter accounts follow Colangelo's son's basketball team, which is the University of Chicago. They'll live tweet the games and all that. And I mean, honestly, who live tweets University of Chicago basketball games? All right, I figure University of Chicago is more known for its academics rather than its college basketball team. So there's a lot that ties Colangelo to his accounts, the people he's following, the connections, and all that. Okay, and there's even one tweet where at Sam Hinkie where it's pretty much asking him how's his job at Stanford going, where it was basically a dig at him. All right. And I mean, now this report that's come out, and I mean, when the report came out and I read it, I thought first jump was, oh yeah, he's definitely done it. But then you think, wait, what if it wasn't him? Okay. This could be very damaging. But then, of course, you got your little Twitter detectives and all that. And I guess there's phone numbers that you can link the account to and all that. And surprisingly enough, one of them you could link to Colangelo's phone number, and a few of the others you could link to his wife's phone number. Okay. And now you got the 76ers who have launched an investigation into it, so now it's a whole big thing. Okay. But there's way too many coincidences with these Twitter accounts to where you have to think that either Colangelo or someone near Colangelo is running these accounts. All right. And I mean, if you think about it, this is a fireable offense, I think. Okay, when you got someone who is close to the organization, whether it be Colangelo or maybe his wife, because I mean, even then, so you got Colangelo. If let's say it was his wife running the accounts, okay, and he had no clue, he's still relaying team-sensitive information to her that's now gotten out into the public. Okay, and plus, when you're going at your franchise player on Twitter, that's not necessarily a great thing for the team. Okay, so we got to wait for this whole investigation to wrap up. But nonetheless, I don't see how you bring Colangelo back. Okay? And I don't see how, and we've seen stuff like this before too. I believe we had Roger Goodell's wife who ran a couple of Twitter accounts, ran one basically just defending Roger Goodell at any possible opportunity. We've had the whole one with Kevin Durant where he forgot to switch over to his other burner account and tweeted from his account basically talking about how he didn't like playing for Billy Donovan, didn't like playing for the franchise, and that it was just him and Russell Westbrook. There was no help there. Okay. And then we got Steve Kerr who meant to send a DM, accidentally tweeted it talking about how many fouls James Harden draws and all that. Okay. I mean, I don't understand how these guys aren't more careful as far as their dealings with social media. Okay, you're in a big position where it's usually highly scrutinized, and you're just out here being reckless as far as being on social media, and especially, I mean, giving out team-sensitive information, tweeting at your franchise player, okay, and taking a few shots at the guy that you replaced. Not necessarily a good look by any means. Okay. And also, I mean, this is a big offseason for Philly. A huge one, okay? This is an offseason where this could change, not the franchise, because, I mean, the franchise is already turning in the right direction. But this is an offseason where this could make Philly a championship contender, okay? You got guys like Kawhi Leonard, who possibly could be available on the trade market. Paul George is a free agent, and also LeBron is going to be a free agent. And Philly is a team who very well could end up with a guy like LeBron. All right. And I also saw, too, with the whole LeBron thing, that I remember that he had issues with Jerry Colangelo, Bryan Colangelo's father, as far as the whole USA basketball. And all I believe was LeBron wanting to take a summer off from it and all that. And, I mean, now you got this. Let's say that it's true. That's not great for Philly. Okay? And ever since Sam Hinkie left the 76ers, I've noticed that there's been a whole lot of front office issues. I mean, just more like a lot of stories about the front office than you'd rather like, okay? Stuff about Colangelo and the Markelle Fultz injury. I mean, Colangelo ended up making that trade to get Fultz. All right, gave up the Kings pick next year and gave up the third pick, which eventually turned into Jason Tatum. So Colangelo really, I don't think he's gotten a warm welcome with this 76ers team. All right. So, I mean, now going forward, I think Philly, they have no choice other than to get rid of Colangelo. All right. If it's his dad running the account, his wife, his son, it doesn't matter. Okay, you got to get rid of him, I feel. Just given the fact that they've given out team information, okay, it's going at coaches, and you can't have this. Philly can't be a joke like this, okay? Philly's a big market team where they need to be good, and I mean, if you got stories like this coming out, it's not going to be great for the state of your franchise. All right? So, I mean, we still got a few days to figure out what exactly is going on. I mean, there are theories, and it seems like we are close to figuring out what ended up happening. But nonetheless, I mean, this might be the oddest story of the NBA season. And we've had the whole Clippers secret tunnel little skirmish, I don't know what you want to call it, between them and the Clippers and the Rockets. Okay, Kawhi Leonard, his little injury situation with the Spurs. Markelle Fultz forgetting how to shoot. Bobby Portis and Nikola Mirotic getting into it. I mean, this has been probably one of the more entertaining and odder NBA seasons in recent memory. Okay? And we have social media to blame/thank for it, I guess. All right? And that's one thing, too. I mean, if you're a person who's working in professional sports, does a Twitter account help you in any way more than it does hurt you? I'm not sure. Okay? So that's one thing to think about there also. I mean, now, like with the whole social media age of the professional sports now, we got players interacting with fans a whole lot more. But like I said, we've seen more bad come from it than good. Are we going to start seeing teams ban players from being on Twitter and all that? I don't know if you can do that, but nonetheless, I think that's what teams in college football do too. I think Clemson is a team that does something like that. I have to double check, but just as far as limiting and all that, not just necessarily banning it, but we'll see what ends up coming from this. I mean, this is still a fresh story. Like I said, the story came out Tuesday night. We're going to talk about it yesterday, but nonetheless, we did have the technical difficulties. So, I mean, like I said, I think it is a fireable offense if anyone close to Colangelo or if it is Colangelo. All right, I don't see how you bring him back. So, we'll see what ends up happening, but nonetheless, I'm going to wrap it up here. Next up, we're going to be talking about Zinedine Zidane resigning as the Real Madrid manager. All right, and just giving a rationale on that. So, stay tuned, and I will be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to extreme cage fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. So far today, we've talked Cavs-Warriors Game 1, picking the Warriors in that one. So was Vegas. Vegas got them favored by 13, which is ridiculous in itself. All right, and we also talked about the whole Bryan Colangelo story that is still ongoing, and that is by far one of the weirder stories I've ever come across in my time watching sports. I mean, I don't know, man. Twitter is social media in itself is just something that has completely taken over sports. All right, it is honestly ridiculous. It's something that's it's a part of professional sports now. That's what it is. Okay, everyone's got it, and I mean, usually there's some good things that come from it. Usually there's a whole lot of bad things that come from it. So we'll see what ends up happening, but nonetheless, I mean, It's entertaining to say, at the very least, to say. Okay? You can't tell me that you don't enjoy watching all this chaos ensue. All right? But nonetheless, All right. Now we're going to move over to the soccer world, where it's still pretty popular on the social media side, but nonetheless, we're going to talk about Zinedine Zidane, Real Madrid manager, former Real Madrid manager. Called a press conference today and shockingly announced that he'd be resigning. Okay? I don't think I've fully grasped him resigning yet. I mean, it's not a bold move. It's a shocking move. But nonetheless, I think I understand why he's done it. Okay? During his time with Madrid, he's won a La Liga title. He's won 3 Champions League titles and a bunch of others. Okay? He's been fairly successful, I'd say, with Real Madrid. All right? And let's give an overview on Real Madrid, the way they deal with their managers, okay? Other than the Mexico national team job, I'd say that coaching for Real Madrid is probably the one with the least amount of job security. All right, I bring up the Mexico national team because, I mean, you don't beat Jamaica or whatever in CONCACAF qualifying, you will get fired. It is ridiculous how often they go through managers. All right? But nonetheless, Real Madrid is also one where the expectations are... Yeah, the expectations are one where it's basically you're winning every year. Okay? And Zidane has kind of set some unreal expectations for next season if he were to be going back, given that, like I said, he's won 3 Champions League, 3 straight. All right? Which is ridiculous. Why would you put yourself under that pressure rather than leaving on your own terms and leaving as a highly regarded manager in the world, especially with Real Madrid? All right, and this kind of does open the door for him coming back also. All right, I've seen that Zidane wants the France managerial job, and I mean, who wouldn't? There's a lot of talent there to deal with. Okay. And obviously he wants to move on to other challenges. And we kind of saw this when Pep Guardiola left Barcelona. Okay, it's not like Barcelona were terrible, so they had to get rid of Pep. No, it's just Pep won way too much. And eventually, as odd as it may sound, winning does get old. Okay, eventually you do want a challenge. Barcelona did not have any challenge. It was just every year winning at least a trophy or 2. Okay. And those Barcelona teams with Pep Guardiola coaching them were probably one of the best ever. All right. So, I mean, I do understand why Zidane left. Let's say that France doesn't do well in the World Cup. They get rid of their manager. Zidane slides right in. Okay. Easy. And, I mean, as far as who can coach Madrid now, I think maybe, I don't know. I've been seeing Arsene Wenger's name being thrown up a lot. Okay, and Arsene Wenger is one who I'd say he's still a good coach. I think everyone got sick of each other at Arsenal. Okay, it just kind of got old. As far as the players dealing with Arsene Wenger dealing with the team itself, I think it was time for a change. Okay. Do I think that Arsene Wenger is Real Madrid quality? At one point, I think he was. Now, I'm not sure. But, I mean, Wenger would have pretty much all the money in the world to go out and buy whoever he wanted in every transfer window. Okay? And also, you already got a very good squad there. And with Zidane resigning, I mean, he's not the only one who is affected from this. Okay? Talking about Zidane. Now we got to look at Gareth Bale and Cristiano Ronaldo. What happens with them? Okay. Gareth Bale seemed pretty keen on leaving Real Madrid this summer because of the fact that he wasn't getting week-to-week playing time as far as starting 11 spots. Okay. And obviously that was Zidane's decision, not to start him week-to-week. Now if you're Gareth Bale, are you going to be leaving? Okay, where you could play for a new manager who, I mean, and Gareth Bale, I mean, would be possibly would be taking a chance. And I think if I'm Bale, I wouldn't leave until you figure out who the new manager is. That way you could just see their style and see if you would fit there and if they'd want you in the starting 11. So I think we're gonna have to wait a bit to see if Bale ends up leaving this summer. And also with Ronaldo, I mean, he's brought up, but he was never leaving. Okay? And maybe this, and I'm just throwing things out there, maybe this could be an opportunity for Ronaldo to leave, okay, if he doesn't like the new manager. And I mean, we've had all the Neymar transfer rumors and all that. You sell Ronaldo, I mean, that's a big, you can use all that money to try and get a guy like Neymar, at least use it to pay the rest. Okay? So, I mean, as far as it goes, it is a shock move, but you understand it, okay? Go out as a champion with Real Madrid rather than waiting for them to get rid of you because you didn't meet expectations on that certain year. All right? So it's going to be very interesting to see what ends up happening with the team and what happens with Zidane. But nonetheless, I mean, I do think Bale probably will end up staying, possibly. All right? Because, I mean, why would you ever want to leave Real Madrid? I mean, that's probably the top of the top right there in all of soccer. All right, and also a name to watch for, which I might not happen given that he got a new contract extension and all that, but Mauricio Pochettino. He's always been linked to Real Madrid. He's a great manager for Tottenham, great manager in the Premier League. I'd say he's a top. So we got Pep, Mourinho. Conte's not there anymore. Wenger's gone. Let's say I guess you have your choice at Klopp or Pochettino, but I'd say Pochettino is a top 4 manager in the Premier League. Why not he end up over at Madrid? I think he'd do a fine job there. I mean, pretty much brought Tottenham from being the laughingstock of the Premier League, just losing and losing every year, to, I mean, they've gotten better. Obviously, they haven't won any trophies yet since he's been there, but nonetheless, they are a team where you respect them a bit more as far as playing with the top teams of the Premier League. All right. He's a manager who could possibly end up with Madrid. Okay. But I do think that eventually Zidane will be the manager of France. All right, I don't see him leaving Madrid and not having a plan. And as far as like what Madrid does next, they're fine. Okay, this isn't something that's going to leave them scrambling to find a manager or anything like that. People want to come coach Real Madrid. They want to come manage. Okay, it's not really Madrid wanting them to come there. They're always going to be there for Madrid to look at. All right, that's just one of the pluses of being one of the biggest clubs in Europe. All right. So it's going to be interesting to see pretty much what ends up happening with all the outside factors that are tied to this. Like I said, Bale could end up leaving still. Ronaldo could just leave. I mean, I don't know. This is one where it kind of threw off everything. Okay, it seemed like Madrid were doing fine with him. Doing great with him, actually, winning Champions League after Champions League. So now you're going to bring in a coach who, I mean, maybe he doesn't want to play with the midfield that they got. Maybe he wants to be more attacking. Maybe you get rid of a Casemiro. Maybe you move him to the bench. Okay. Maybe you end up keeping Benzema. I'm not sure. There's a whole lot that could come from this move here. All right. And then, like I said, it did throw everyone off this. And I don't think I still have fully grasped Zidane not being there anymore coaching Madrid. Just given that, I mean, I woke up this morning and you see it and you're like, wait, what? Like, does this really happen? And sure enough, it did. All right. And I think this threw off everyone on Madrid. I don't think anyone was really expecting him to resign today. The president, no one. So we'll see what ends up happening. But nonetheless, that's all I got to say about that. Next up, we're going to be talking about anything else going on in the world of sports. So stay tuned, and I will be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. So far today, we've talked about the Cavs Warriors. Probably touch on that a little bit more. I mean, it is the NBA Finals in this segment. All right, we talked about Bryan Colangelo. That's a very odd story, but a very entertaining one at the very least. And we've also talked about Zinedine Zidane resigning as the Real Madrid manager. I mean, that's the perfect way to do it, okay? Madrid is a very tough place to manage, and I mean, the expectations are unreal. You go out and win 3 Champions League and a La Liga title, go out on top rather than waiting for you to maybe not win a trophy one year and they just fire you, okay? So, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with Zidane leaving Real Madrid there. And like I said, it does leave the opportunity for him to come back, okay? It's not like Madrid got rid of him. He got rid of Madrid. And I think eventually we will see him back coaching or managing Real Madrid. But like I said, maybe he wants to go tackle the France national team first before anything. I mean, you got Didier Deschamps there, obviously. But I mean, he could be, after this World Cup, a guy where you could see coaching Real Madrid. All right? Let's say that after the World Cup, he leaves. Maybe they do a little bit swap. Zidane goes to coach France, manage France, and then Deschamps goes to go and manage Real Madrid. It's a possibility. All right? So we'll see what ends up happening, but nonetheless here, for this fourth segment, we always talk about anything going through my mind as far as the world of sports, and also talk about other sports news and notes going on. All right. So one thing I've noticed today, obviously we got the French Open going on. Serena Williams, when she drops a set, it's news. All right. It is definitely news, and it's honestly kind of like ridiculous in the good way. All right. She's that good. All right. I saw earlier, her match was going on. She dropped the set, and boom, headline. Serena Williams drops the set. Of course, she ended up winning the match. All right, in 3 sets but nonetheless, I mean, Serena Williams has been so dominant that when she loses a set, it's she all right? All right, and that's just pure dominance there. She probably is one of the greatest tennis players of all time, if not the greatest. I'd say. I don't know. I'm not a tennis extraordinaire or anything like that, but nonetheless, I mean, if you're watching, Serena Williams has been dominant forever. And I feel like, I'm not sure if it's different compared to the older years, the other eras of sports and all that. But I feel like in this era I've grown up in, I've seen nothing but certain people just dominate. Okay? Serena Williams has dominated tennis. Roger Federer has dominated the men's side. Alright? Tiger was dominant for a point. Okay? The New England Patriots have been dominant since basically I was a child. All right. In the NBA, it was always Kobe and the Spurs. Now it's the Warriors. In the NFL, like I said, it was the Patriots. Hockey has been a little bit different. There's been, Pittsburgh was one before this season, won 2 in a row, but nonetheless, weren't as dominant as everyone else. All right. And basically in the MLB, it's basically been, it's been different there too. But nonetheless, kind of what I'm getting at is that there's been a lot of athletes in this era that have just simply dominated everyone. All right. And a lot of teams. And that's one thing where, I mean, I don't know. People always talk about this idea of balance and all that. Different teams making it to finals and all that. But, I mean, we've only really seen dynasties. It's never really changed. Okay. So, I mean, that's one thing, too, with the NBA is not good anymore or anything like that because we have the same 2 teams that was playing in the finals for the 4th year in a row. I always go back to it. Celtics own the 60s. Lakers and Sixers own the 70s. Lakers and Celtics own the 80s. Bulls 90s. Lakers and Spurs in the 2000s. And then 2010 era, we've had the Heat and the Warriors. It's been no different. Okay? So I understand where this whole, it's not balanced or anything like that goes. And also, too, I was talking with Tate before the show. We were talking about it. I mean, would you like to see a Utah Jazz Toronto Raptors final? I don't think you would you? No, definitely you would not. I mean, would you even like to see a Toronto Raptors Houston Rockets final? No. All right. You want to see the big teams. You want to see the big market teams make it. Okay. You don't want to see New Orleans versus Philly. All right. You want to see maybe Celtics Lakers. Cavs Lakers would have been a fun one back when Kobe was still playing. All right. I mean, you don't want to see these lower. You want to see Portland versus Atlanta, okay? Imagine when Atlanta had Horford and those guys, and then you had Portland with Damian Lillard, Batum, and them. Would that have been a final that you would have watched? I don't think so. Okay, It's all about the dominance. It's always been that way. So I don't understand why people are now complaining about it. Okay, maybe it's just because their team has no other chance, I guess. All right, but nonetheless, I mean, like I said, going back to the finals tonight, it's going to take a lot out of LeBron to get a couple of games. And let's say that LeBron wins this series somehow, some way. I mean, that's got to make him the greatest of all time, doesn't it? This would be the all-time postseason run by LeBron here. Probably the greatest postseason run I've seen. Okay? It'd definitely be his greatest postseason run if somehow the Cleveland Cavaliers ended up taking a series win, a finals win, against this Warriors team. All right. But nonetheless, I can't see it happening. And I'm really rooting for a good series too, okay? I picked the Warriors in 5, but I really want Cleveland to take a couple of games here. I want to be wrong so bad. Okay? Warriors in 6, I'd be happy. I'd be perfectly happy with that because that means that we get to see the Cavs at least look good for a couple of games and at least looks a little bit better. I mean, last year's series was basically pitiful. Okay? I mean, honestly, the Cavs had no business winning the game. Nonetheless, they stole one. And the Warriors just ended up finishing them in 5. All right. So it's going to be extremely interesting to see how this series plays out. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Cleveland after this year. Okay. If they don't win the finals, I mean, are you bringing back Ty Lue if LeBron's not even there? I mean, Ty Lue hasn't necessarily had the greatest postseason run as far as being a coach. He's gotten here. But nonetheless, I mean, I think we know why they've made it this far. All right. So, I mean, you're going to have to worry about that. Also, you got the 8th pick in the draft. You're not going to be getting some top 5 player. Okay. And you know, after a Colin Sexton, maybe a Michael Porter Jr. Who knows? All right. And what's going to happen with LeBron after this year? You going to go to Houston? I mean, I think right now, Houston's probably got to be the most enticing spot for him to go to. They took Golden State to 7. All right. They were up 3-2 in that series. You're going to tell me LeBron's like, and 2, I've thought about him going to Philly. I don't think him going to Philly would be good enough to beat the Warriors, and I figure that LeBron, for him, the goal would be now to beat the Warriors, wouldn't it? I mean, that's pretty much been his biggest problem the last few years is going up against them. I think you go to Houston, that's a perfect opportunity for you to beat them, and I think it'd be a possibility there. All right? Let's say LeBron goes to Houston. We have a Rockets-Celtics finals. Kyrie versus LeBron. Okay? I mean, who wouldn't want that? Starting 5 of, let's say, Paul, Harden, LeBron, Ariza, Capella versus Kyrie, Brown, Hayward, Tatum, and Horford. That'd be a pretty star-studded series right there. Okay, that's a series that could go 7 games. We'll see what ends up happening in this offseason, too. And I think one thing, too, that we could all agree on is Paul George, I think, is going to end up with the Lakers. I don't see how it doesn't happen. All right. And also, I mean, we got to watch out for Philly now with this whole Colangelo story. How's this going to affect their offseason? Philly doesn't pick up one big free agent this offseason. It's a failure. All right. Granted, I mean, they did finish as the 3 seed with Embiid and Simmons, and they have nowhere to go but up. Plus, they're going to be adding Markelle Fultz back into the fold of things. I mean, we'll see what ends up happening with them. All right. And now you got Patriots players hitting back at the critics as far as it not being fun to work there. All right, you got McCourty. I think it was Jason McCourty saying, when you're winning, everything's always fun. And that's true. You're having the most fun when you win. All right, and playing for the Patriots, it's not for everyone. All right, I'm not going to get mad at a guy for saying that playing in New England isn't fun and it makes you hate football. You got to be cut from a different cloth to go play for that team. They treat it like an actual job there. All right, which is, I mean, I think they do take themselves a little bit serious, but I mean, the goal is to go out and win, and that's what they do. All right. So, I mean, there's no point in hating on the Patriots for being as serious as they are, and there's no point on hating on someone for not enjoying playing for the Patriots. Okay? It's all just a matter of, I guess, just different opinions. So, that's all I got to say about that. Let's see, anything else going on in the world of sports right now? I mean, Tiger Woods, he's currently golfing right now. Let me see, how did he do today? Yeah, let's check the leaderboards for that. Tiger Woods, I think, was dealing with a stiff back today, too, so that's a bit of a problem. So it's the Memorial Tournament. Let's see where we could find Tiger. I think he shot a 72 today. So you got Phil Mickelson right now who's at a -2. He's currently 12 holes in. Let's see, where's good old Tiger at? Tiger finished even at 72 today in this first round. I mean, that's a plus, especially considering the fact that he did have a stiff back going into it today. Shooting even, I mean, that's not too bad. All right. I think the leader right now is at a 7 under par. Tiger's got a chance, maybe. I mean, he plays well tomorrow and then pretty much does what he's always done in Saturday and Sunday so far this year. Could go out and win this tournament. So we'll see what ends up happening. But I'm going to wrap up the show here. Today, like I said, we talked Cavs-Warriors Game 1. We talked Bryan Colangelo. I mean, that guy's got to figure out the whole social media thing. We talked about Zidane resigning as Real Madrid manager. And then for this segment, we talked about a bunch of different topics going on in the world of sports. All right. So thanks for listening. As always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. We will be back tomorrow, so stay tuned, and I will talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.